some interesting analysis from Nate Silver on what it would actually take for Trump to win the election at this point. And I think it's absolutely spot on. So let's throw his tweet up there on the screen. Nate basically says, yeah, my general read is to make the election competitive. Trump probably needs to, A, have the coronavirus situation get objectively better by November, B, to receive some degree of credit for it, and 2, something else. Now, something else, he says, could be a Biden gaffe, military entanglement, Supreme Court vacancy, a large polling error. All of those are wild cards that would make his position. Also, conversely, could even make it even worse. So one of the things I've always appreciated about Nate is just that I know he can be arrogant and annoying sometimes, but on this stuff, he generally is correct, which is that people underweight the possibility of being able to come back or the ability of having a polling error, something that we've definitely had in our minds every time we look at something like this. And he says, I think the punditry slightly underrates the chances of the COVID situation getting better just because it's so hard to predict when the ebbs and flows in coronavirus spread and models, given that we've seen right now, and what it will actually look like on November 3rd. I think that's exactly the right way to look.
Yeah, and you could certainly see Trump making some big show of announcing something, therapeutic or a vaccine or something.
What if remdesivir becomes widely available?
Even if it's not totally ready for prime time, you can see him sort of pushing it there to get that last minute bump. But it essentially confirms what we've been saying here, which is basically a lot of this is kind of out of his hands at this point. He missed the chance to own this election. He could easily have been up by a significant margin and be looking at the type of landslide victory that Joe Biden is looking at right now. Instead, he's got to hope that things get better. He's got to actually marshal the government to try to make things better as best they can, but a lot of that is out of their control at this point as well. So pretty interesting to see Nate's analysis there. And I think you're right. I think about even if, let's say, Trump has a 20% chance of getting reelected now.
That's still 1 in 5.
That's still 1 in 5. Right. I mean, if you were thinking about, there's 1 in 5 chance that I'm going to break my leg if I stand up, you would be really careful.
You'd be afraid.
You would be afraid to stand up. So this is still a significant chance, and we always want to be clear that there are a lot of things that can happen and that Joe Biden is not in any position to make a affirmative case that people are going to get excited about. I mean, we make fun of the whole vote parade thing on the Trump side, but it is true that his people are more excited.
Yeah, they're more enthusiastic.
Joe Biden's people are overwhelmingly voting against Trump. Now, it happens to be that this time around, it looks like that's going to be enough. And we have some new polling that kind of continues to confirm the general trajectory of this race. New poll out of Texas from Morning Consult, very good pollster that we cite a lot here with a very small margin of error that has Biden up 2. That is essentially right at their margin of error, which means essentially tied right now in Texas. This is not an outlier either, Saagar. We've seen a number of polls that have basically been extremely tight within the margin of error or thereabouts. So, at this point, this is what's so wild. You really have to take in the fact that Joe Biden is in better position to win Texas right now than Trump is to win Michigan.
Yeah, that's right. And, Trump is probably going to win Texas. But the fact that they would have to defend in Texas is not good. That costs a lot of money, right? And Joe Biden is up on the air in Texas being like, hello, everybody. I'm thinking about all of you, and we're going to get this thing under control. I think we played the ad here.
His ads are pretty good.
It's a good ad. And Texas has, they got a bad coronavirus situation right now. The governor there is taking some heat from all sides, right and left, in terms of reopening, on mask wearing, on all of that. Same thing in Florida. Same thing in North Carolina, many of these other battleground states, which we can see right before our eyes. What's happening in Texas is what's happening across the country where you have GOP rule or there are swing states. So let's throw the Senate polling up there on the screen. This is brutal. Same thing from Morning Consult. Mark Kelly in Arizona is up by 16 points. In Michigan, Peters is up by 14 points over John James. In North Carolina, Cunningham is up by 9 points. So that means that Trump has to outperform the Senate candidates in each one of these races by double digits or by 9 points in the case of North Carolina. That is incredibly difficult to do. I'm not saying it can't be done, and many of these Senate candidates are not charismatic or loved by the base or any of that.
By the way, actually, Trump is outpolling these Senate candidates.
Surprised.
Which is like pathetic in your own home state that you don't have more love from your own voters. But look at what is happening in the Senate right now, and you may have some
Take a look at that GOP bill, and you'll know why.
As to why that is going to happen. But, you really could have this dynamic where you have an overwhelming wave. You have Joe Biden swept into office. You have a Democratic Senate. They may even get rid of the filibuster. You have a Democratic House. And you know what? Then you can really say, like, what do these people, when these people actually have power and they have the opportunity and, like, the ball is in their court and they can't just scream and cry about all the excuses that they normally, the Republicans are too mean and gerrymander and the Russians or whatever. When you actually have it all, what do you do? With no excuses to fall back on, what do you do? And that could very much be the situation that we are heading for
I think that's, look, 538 had a podcast yesterday talking about how it's within the realm of possibility Democrats win 60 votes in the United States Senate. Same thing happened in 2008, right? Not that crazy. It absolutely could happen, and it's something that a lot of people should think about. But yeah, I think that these polls are terrible for the Republicans, and I think that Nate's piece is also still on, which is, 4 out of 5 times something can happen. 1 out of 5 times is still pretty good odds. Not good odds, but it could happen within the realm of possibility.
Yep, absolutely. All right, we're going to have more rising for you after this.